Greetings and welcome back to another Alethea Game Studios tutorial on Godot. This is part 2 of a 3-part series on how to make a wave shader. So if you haven't watched the first one, you should go check it out now. We're going to continue right from where we picked up right there. Or we're going to pick up right from where we left off right there. Alright, so in the last tutorial we made this little scene and imported it. And what we're going to do right now is make our fragment shader. So it's pretty simple to do. All we have to do first is let's make the shader on the plane. So we name these different things: the icosphere, the Susan, the plane. So we're going to go to the plane, and then we're going to click over here to Material Override. And we're going to create a new shader material. And it should turn it white like that. And then we're going to go push the arrow button and go here and create a new graph shader. We're going to use the shader graph. And then pushing that makes it where we can go edit the graph. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this in full screen mode so you can see a little bit better, and I'll try to make it as clear as possible. So one of the first things we need, and you'll notice that whenever you do stuff it sometimes changes the textures. That's fine, no big deal right now. So the first thing we need to do is add the texture, the water texture. So what we're going to do is create a texture uniform, and I'm going to name this water texture. Alright, and then if you save it, it'll save it in the background. And then we're going to connect the UV from this and then out to the diffuse. Alright, and what we have to do now is, since it's saved, we can click here in the inspector and go with the material. And for some reason, I don't know why it likes to do this, it likes to not save that. So if it does that, just click off, save it, and try again. But what we can do now is, with this material, with this water texture, we can load up a new texture. And we can load this texture right here. And we'll open it. And so we have a texture. That's a good starting point. But that's not all we want to do with the fragment shader, so let's do a little bit more. So the next thing we're going to do, pull this over this way a little bit, is we're going to make it where it moves a bit. Actually, we're going to make it where we can actually have multiple copies, and so it can repeat itself. Let's say, for example, your waves are really big, unlike this one, and you want them to be more waves. You can do that using this what we're going to do next. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to create a new scalar uniform, which is scalar is just basically a number or something between ranges. It's not a vector or anything like that. And we're going to call this one texture repeat. T-E-X-T-U-R-E. Alright. And this is going to be basically how many times the texture repeats itself inside this section. And then what we need to do is we need to make a scalar and vector operator, and we can multiply this together. So we'll multiply this scalar. Alright, so Godot creators, we gotta get that bug fixed. It's aggravating as a mess. But so this was called V. Alright. And then what we're going to do is just connect this to the UV. And so it's set at 0 now, so it repeats itself 0 times. If we put it at 2, it repeats itself 2 times. We can put it at 4, it repeats itself 4 times. So it gets smaller and smaller and repeats itself more and more. And that's really helpful for a lot of different reasons. So that's the one step we can do, and I'm just going to put it at 1 for now. Alright, now the next thing that we may want to do is we want to have, we want to have the alpha. You can see it's completely opaque right now, so you can't see through this at all. And so this is really simple. All we gotta do is do another scalar uniform right here, and we're gonna name this one alpha. And for this one, it's changed again for some reason. So it won't change this time. Alright, and then you put the scalar alpha right here, and the diffuse alpha. Now, it's at 0, so we need to make a default, and we don't want the default to be 0, so let's just make the default 0.8. Alright, so with both of these, we can actually go to this object right here, go to the material, and you have the texture repeat and this, so we can put this to 2, and it repeats twice, and the alpha to 0.5. and it's slightly more transparent. So that's a pretty good start right there. Alright, so the next step we're going to do is we're going to make it where it can move along one of the axes, or we can actually make it move across both the axes, but we're just going to do one for now. And so basically the water will be moving instead of staying still. So this is pretty simple to do. What we do need is a time input, or a time, and this is just basically counts the seconds. And then we're going to do a scalar operator, and we're going to multiply this by the speed that we want to go. So we're going to do another scalar uniform, and this is going to be texture movement speed. Alright, and so all we have to do is multiply this times this. Alright, it's at 0, so we need to go ahead and make it something kind of slow at first. If you multiply it by these numbers, it'll actually be how much it moves. Now, it's not moving now because we haven't connected it. So we need to find a way of connecting this number to this output. And we do that by... actually, we need to separate this out because I only want to go on the x-axis. So what I'm going to do is take this out, and we are going to convert this to 3 different scalars. So instead of the vector x, y, and z, we just now have the x and the y and the z that we can use. And so I'm going to use the scalar operator here to add this to this one to the x. Okay, so that's the movement, so it's going to move on the x, and then we're going to do a scalar to vertex for the output. So we have the x takes this multiplication of the movement and the time, and then adds that to the x here, and then makes the new x, and then we have that, and then we pull this in, and we should start seeing it move. And oh yeah, and we gotta connect the y right here. So it's moving very slowly, so we can make it move a little bit faster. And there we go. So we have moving texture with the texture, but it doesn't have any motion yet, and we'll do that on the Vertex Shader. Now you can actually, if you wanted to, you could actually have them both go with another scalar operator, and we can just add the x. You have the output here, and then the y here, and then go to the y there, and it'll go both different ones. You could do that if you want to or not. It's fine. But I'm just going to go where it's just going across the x-axis, and across the x-axis. And that's basically it for this part of the tutorial. So right now you have transparent water that moves across an axis with shaders that you can change the parameters on. The next tutorial following this one will be how to make it where it actually looks, it is actually wavy. So just hold out for that one, and I'll hopefully hear from you next time.